Hello, welcome to another episode of Inside the Huddle. Today is Friday, September 26th, although by the time many of you are watching this, it'll probably be Saturday, Sunday, whenever you're watching this. It is week 4. This is episode 79 of the Inside the Huddle podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us. Another week. Season continues to fly by. Lots of good games on this weekend, lots of storylines this weekend. We start with our overseas games. So we'll have a 9:30 Eastern action on Sunday, starting bright and early. Some breakfast and football out in Ireland with the Steelers and the Vikings. Back to the 2 Monday night games. One of the games, I am sorry, America. The other game probably should be a little bit better potentially in Denver. So we'll see. But DiMari, how's it going, man? Another week. And looking forward to diving into all the week 4 action coming up.
Yeah, I'm doing great. It seems like a lot of football, obviously, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but usually on Sundays we kind of wait until 1. But we had Thursday night last night. We got some college tonight, early tomorrow, 12 o'clock, 9 o'clock on Sunday. We get all day football, so that is great. Jam-packed weekend with football. We kind of talked about it off air a little bit. Just a good slate of college, good slate of NFL. So I'm really excited for this week.
Yeah, it should be good. And tomorrow's college slate is awesome. Georgia, Bama, Whiteout, Penn State, Oregon. So looking forward to those games. But yeah, football full swing. We're almost into October, almost into what I always say is the best sports month of the year. You've got hockey and basketball starting up. You got playoff baseball and college and the NFL in full swing. So we're in a prime time spot for sports right now and a great weekend ahead. Lots of storylines heading into this weekend. Lots of storylines in a couple of these games, specifically involving the NFC East. You go to Dallas, Micah Parsons' return on Sunday Night Football. And the other big story, which is what we'll start with, is the Chargers visiting the Giants. And it won't be Russell Wilson under center. It'll be the rookie Jackson Dart. Brian Dable announced that decision officially on Wednesday that the Giants were making a change. Kind of felt like when you listened to his Monday press conference that would be the case, because he came in on Monday and said, we're evaluating everything, gave that typical response of non-committal on Russell Wilson, which was the first time that he did that. And you kind of got the feeling that was going to happen. Sure enough, the Schefter report comes out. Day later, Dable confirms it. The rookie, Ole Miss, Jackson Dart, the future potentially, he is starting so many different thoughts, so many different angles that people look at this move from. So what are your thoughts on this one? 4 games in, Jackson Dart already under center for a Giants team, a Giants regime that is 0-3 and reeling right now when you look at Dable, Joe Shane, and the rest of this organization in the middle of another embarrassing season.
Oh, I said it off air. I'm going to say it once again. It just kind of feels forced. And I know the Giants haven't looked great outside of week 2 when, they played Dallas. But it almost seems like no matter how good Russell Wilson played, no matter how bad Russell Wilson played, it was always going to be win for Jackson Dart takes the field. And, off air, you said something, and you made a great point when you said it. It kind of seems like Dave was like, hey, if I'm going to get fired, I'm going to get fired with the guy that I want. And you make a very great point of that. And, his job is on the line. So for Jackson Dart, for Dable, for the Giants, you have to produce. There has to be some type of efficiency. But I honestly just think for this team, and we've talked about this during the offseason, for how this roster is constructed outside of elite neighbors, it doesn't matter who you put back there at quarterback, there will not be success whatsoever. You finally have a little bit of a running game, but nothing about that Giants team screams, we're going to be good. We have enough offensive firepower to be good. And now if Russell Wilson, who is a well-known seasoned veteran, a Super Bowl champ, all the things you want to say about Russ, couldn't step into this offense and be successful, what makes you think Jackson Dart can do it?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It feels forced. It feels like a bit of a panic move, as you mentioned. Feels like this is Brian Dable, who repeated multiple times on Wednesday, it's my decision, it's my decision, it's my decision, basically telling everybody in the organization, basically telling everybody in kind of the NFL landscape. Like, I understand I'm on the hot seat. I understand if things don't go well the rest of the season, I'm going to be fired. Joe Shane's going to be fired. I'm going to be out of here. It's going to be a new regime. This is kind of his way of saying, you know what? This was my guy. We all know how much Dable liked Dart coming out of the draft. They traded up for him. If I'm on the hot seat, if there's potential of me getting fired, I'm going to go down with my guy. And ultimately, for Dable, you're hoping that he shows everyone that Dart is a legitimate quarterback and shows that this offense, that Dable as a coach can work if you give him the right quarterback, give him the quarterback that he wants. And in the event it doesn't work, kind of from Dable's perspective, it's basically like, you know what? It wasn't Russ. It wasn't Winston. I wanted Dart. I'm going to throw Dart out there and try and win with him and try and prove that I can win with him. And if not, I essentially the sinking ship, he goes down with Dart. So this is just where this whole situation all could have been avoided. And I've said this a lot. I actually probably am higher on Dable as a coach than most. Maybe I put too much stock into 2022. I think a lot of the Giants' issues to me, like you said, it's roster stuff. You look at the rest of this roster, no matter which quarterback you put in there, outside of Malik Neighbors, they've got, sure, Cam Scatterby has looked good. But even Wan'Dale Robinson, Darius Slayton, like those guys are not really players that are going to strike fear into an opposing defense. All this organization has talked about is how good Theo Johnson is and how good Theo Johnson's going to be at tight end. He's done nothing. There's a lot of roster construction issues that I think are more to blame on Joe Shane than Brian Dable himself. But either way, this is the spot that the Giants find themselves in. This was all too predictable. Right at the end of last year, when they elected to keep both these guys and then ultimately draft Jackson Dart, you're putting them in such a weird position where what constitutes a good enough season to bring them back? Like if they go 3-14 and Jackson Dart plays well, do you bring him back even though it's another losing season? Because then if you fire him, the next regime comes in. What are they going to want to do with Jackson Dart? This all could have been avoided if you just cleaned house, started over, and approached it that way. And who knows, maybe the next regime would have traded up for Jackson Dart. Maybe whoever. But here we are with the Giants. They're a clown show. They can't get out of their own way. They are. And that's what it's so sad how far the Giants have fallen from where they once were as a proud franchise to where they are now. They're not winning. They've lost 14 of their last 15 games. Now they're just throwing a rookie quarterback out there to the Wolves. Right? This isn't anything other than a panic move because you can't say he's ready if he didn't start the season. No, 3 games doesn't all of a sudden mean now, he's got 3 games of sitting and watching. Now he's ready. That's nonsense.
And truthfully, there's been packages for him. We've seen a few against Dallas. We've seen, I think, a few last week. I don't recall him throwing the ball. So, obviously, there's probably safety in practice, but it's read options. So, what have they seen in practice? Because we haven't seen it on game film. What have they seen in practice where they really think Jackson Dart will step in, kind of take over for us, this new starter, and just completely this offense looks different? And truthfully, we said this last week, I'm going to say it again. That offense will not look as good as it looked against Dallas in week 2 at any point again in the season. That was with Rush. And I will die on this hill if I have to. If Jackson Dart started that game for the Giants against Dallas, that game doesn't go like that. They probably score 13 points. Who knows? Because Dallas' defense is also one of the worst defenses to ever exist, ever. But I'm going to further your point. The roster construction is awful. It's like all the pieces, all the chips are towards the defense, and let's improve the defense, let's get the defense better. And offensively, they don't do anything. And again, it doesn't matter who you're throwing at quarterback. If there's no one to throw the ball to, if you don't have a run game, if your offensive line can't block, none of that stuff, you're not going to be successful. And disrespectfully, I'm going to say this because you just made a great point. Malik Neighbors scares you on a Sunday. I'm not worried about Darius Slayton and Jalen Hyatt and Devin Singletary. Tyrone Tracy's hurt, so you lose that back in the the run pass game what he brings. Who scares me? Who scares me? no one on that Giants offense scares you whatsoever outside of Malik Neighbors. So you can throw prime Peyton Manning back there. You can throw John Elway. It doesn't matter who you throw back there, quarterback. They don't have weapons around them, and you will not be good without weapons.
Yeah, I would say I like the early returns on Cam Scatterboo, but even then, he's not a top 10, top 15 running back. He's a rookie who's had a couple nice games. Really, when you look at Scatterboo, it's been 2 good games because week 1 he was really a non-factor. He's had 2 good games in the 2 touchdowns. That's it. So even Scatterboo, we gotta pump the brakes on a little bit in terms of, oh, he's the future. It's 2 good games. One of them, like you said, against a Dallas defense that is not very good. And the other one coming against Kansas City, they are a very good defense, and he played well. And he also did a good job as well from a receiving perspective, played a really good game. See if he can continue to build on that. But, yeah, I mean, it's the roster construction. And now here's the thing. Right now you look at the Jackson Dart era. And I like Dart coming out of college. I know there was a lot of people that are kind of iffy on the Ole Miss quarterbacks and the offense that they run. I personally like Dart. I don't know if he is I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to be the future. I'm not going to sit here and say he's going to turn the season around. But I certainly think he could potentially provide a spark. Here's the question, though, and this is the predicament that, again, was all too predictable when this whole thing started. The minute they took Jackson Dart and we entered this season with a head coach and a GM on the hot seat and a rookie quarterback waiting in limbo, this was the predicament ever since John Mara made those comments at the end of last season about, I better be happier this time next year than I am now. So if Dart plays well and they're a 4-13 team, is Dable back? Like, what's the thing here? Because now if Dable's not back, what's the next regime think on Dart? Now, if he plays well, you'd assume the next regime's probably high on him, but that's also in this offense. He's going to have to learn a new offense. And here we are again, going back to my biggest pet peeve is putting a quarterback in his second year in a new offense already. Like, how does this play out? This is where it's just such a weird spot. You have a rookie. I don't know. I really don't know how this is going to go.
I mean, truthfully, I think, and it's so tough. I feel like we've had this conversation so many times with Dable where we think he's going to get fired. And he's like, oh, let's bring him back. And it's kind of back and forth. But I think it gets to a point where the ownership has to look in the mirror and say, maybe it's me. Maybe we're the issues. Because, truthfully, outside of the Saints, I think we both have said this during the offseason. This is the worst offensive roster outside of the Saints. That at least I think, to my most humble opinion, this roster sucks. So it has to get to the point where Dart plays well enough, and the defense is going to be good. You're not worried about the defense. You kind of probably have to give Dable another shot, especially with him and Dart kind of have this connection, and you can see they're kind of getting, at least Dable getting the most out of Dart. They just can't win games because they don't have the offensive firepower to win them games. You have to bring him back, and that's when some things have to click. You have to build a very good, talented team around him, especially being a rookie. And I'm going to bring up the whole Ole Miss thing. You see how Lane Kiffin ran. Offenses are, you see how Lane Kiffin teams are. Very high power with guys that can run the field, spread the field, very good receivers. One of them, which we haven't seen much of, but one of them is with the Chargers right now. Trey Harris, who we had while at Ole Miss, he had a very good running game. Jackson Dart, not saying like without that he's nothing, but he needs that. And that's not a shot. Every good quarterback benefits that, and truthfully, every good quarterback needs that. But right now, he doesn't have that. And next season, if they bring Dable back, I think that has to be priority one. Is the defense? Don't even look at it. Strictly, strategically, all offensive draft, free agency, whatever you have to do to help your, in that time, second-year quarterback.
Yeah, I think just going back to the timeline too. Like, I think the hope was Russ would be competitive. Everybody brought up the whole Kurt Warner, Eli Manning comparison when Kurt Warner was 5-4. They handed the keys to Eli. That was like the hope before all of this was maybe the Giants wouldn't be 5-4, but could Russ get them to like 5-7? Could they be like 4-6 where they're not terrible, but they're not a playoff team, but they're competitive. They're in games, and then okay, final 2 months of the season, final 7 games, you hand the keys to Dart. Maybe you finish with 7 or 8 wins, and you're like, okay, we're definitely bringing Dable back at that point. But now, I mean, you're 0-3, and this is it's a panic move. And I mean, there's really no, because I've heard this, and we kind of talked about this a little bit off air about, oh, you're putting them out there against this Chargers defense. With the way this Giants schedule is, I don't fully buy that, because even if you played them next week against New Orleans, which for a while a lot of people circled, like if the Giants got out to a start like this, would play him against New Orleans. But then 4 days later, you have to play Philly, and in Denver, and in Philly again. So either way, Jackson Dart, and in San Francisco, and I'll just keep going. Chicago, Green Bay, Detroit, New England before the bye. So New England and Chicago, okay. Green Bay and Detroit on the road. Either way, you're throwing them to the wolves, is what I'm saying. So I've seen some people say, oh, it's too early because they're playing the Chargers. What? Because the Eagles are a softer landing spot? Because the Denver defense on the road is a softer landing spot? No, it's wherever you play them. It's even if you play them against New Orleans, great. 4 days later, you got to play the Eagles. Good luck, you know?
And truthfully, too, it's not even necessarily all about the softer landing spot, like you're saying, kind of for those who want to understand it more. The Chargers being a tough landing spot because the defense is great. But even Philly, like their defense is not great. That is still a tough landing spot because you have to try to go out there and score 40, which when the Eagles offense that is clicking is a very good offense. So it's just like, okay, he might not get, swarmed by this very good defense, this very good front seven, at least they do have. But, okay, hey, so what we need you to do, kid, is go out there and score 45 against the defending champions. Like, it's not that easy. And maybe the Saints is the softest landing spot. And I know we talked a lot of time about how awful the Saints are going to be. And I know last week's performance will not back up what I say whatsoever. But it's still an NFL team. Like, this is still an NFL team with some good guys on that defense, some pieces. Nowhere's a soft landing spot for Jackson Dart with a team full of nobodies. He's throwing the ball to Emily Neighbors.
Yeah. No, yeah, I mean, you're right. Look, at the end of the day, they're all NFL players. And like you said, New Orleans, I mean, they've got, Cam Jordan and the biggest piece on that team. Demario Davis has been around for a while. So they've got some steady veterans on that defense. But, yeah, and like you said, and even just Philly in general, Giants have had terrible, terrible time with Philly the last couple of years. So like you said, it's Philly bad defense, whatever, you're going to have to put up a lot of points. And one of the games is on a short week. That's a difficult spot for any quarterback, for any team on a short week. Now you are home, not that Philly's a long trip. And you got to go play Philly on the road. Like you have back-to-back road games against Denver and Philly. And that's no team that's easy. And I know Denver's had their fair share of issues, Bo Nix so far, but defensively they've been fine. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to. I mean, what are the expectations for him on Sunday? I think he'll provide a spark. Like I think there is, you always get like that when a coach gets fired and an intern comes in. You always sometimes get that like new coach bump. I think there's a very good chance Dart goes out there and early in this game, they run some up tempo, the read option, him and Scattaboo, they're moving the ball, they score early, and everybody's like, here we go, we got our guy, and then the Chargers kind of start to adjust. I think that's probably how this game goes. I don't think the Giants will win. I know this is a oh no, you go ahead.
I was gonna say, truly, if you are a betting man, that Jackson Dart under might feed families. I would hammer the under on Jackson Dart passing yards, over on the pass attempts because they're going to be playing from behind. And, just truthfully, too, I agree with you. I think they are going to try to speed up the offense a little bit, just kind of get him more familiar with how he kind of ran things at Ole Miss. But then again, look how the Chargers defense has made Bo Nix look. Look how they made Patrick Mahomes look. Like, look how they have made some of our better quarterbacks look. You can't throw a rookie out there in that situation.
I mean, Geno, not that he's on the Mahomes or Bo Nix level, but Geno threw 3 picks. I mean, And Geno is a competent NFL quarterback
Yeah.
who looked like a bottom 5 NFL quarterback against the Chargers. So even in that game as well, they've been phenomenal. We talked about some of the numbers off air. 8th defense overall, 9th in passing. So they've been great. It's a challenge, and I guess I will say this: it can't get any worse than Russell Wilson throwing basically 3 footballs into the tunnel.
That's true.
I guess
That's true.
do you think that is ultimately what the straw that broke the camel's back? I think that's how that saying goes. Or do you think it was accumulation of everything?
I think it was that. I think it was just how he played poorly in week 1 and week 3.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, briefly here, quarterbacks are going to throw the ball away if nobody's open. So just back to the weapons thing. But I think it was that. I think it's the media. You living up in that area, you kind of know how that media is more than I. Coaches, players can say what they want. We don't listen to it. We turn TVs off. You hear it. It's kind of like a fire lit under you. So I think Dable kind of just heard everything and was like, I have to do something to save my job, and kind of almost like peer pressure into starting Jackson Dart. That's what it feels like, because I can't recall a time where a quarterback 3 weeks into the season just gets benched for a rookie at that.
Yeah. No, yeah, it's very early. The whole Russ thing is funny. At least the one that hit the upright, at least he could have thrown it through. Like, he couldn't even, maybe they would have counted it for 3. Who knows?
I wonder what's the rule on that. Does that count as like, what is the rule on that?
Point. We got to make a new rule, the Russ scoring system. If you throw it through the uprights, you get a point. It's funny you talk about the media up here. There's a very growing sense that, and we kind of talked about this with Dable going down with the sinking ship, that there is, and this has been reported now, and then we'll move on to our next topic, already kind of 20 plus minutes in here. But even going back to last year, there's been a growing sense around Dable and Shane that they're kind of like breaking apart on their own in a way, where Dable is just in the whole organization kind of on his own right now. There's like a disconnect between those two. They even kind of feel that, people kind of felt that too during the draft, where Dable was pounding the Dable for Dart. Like, he wanted Dart, and it was like his call, and Shane didn't really have much like input on it. There really wasn't much agreement. And there's a lot of people now that kind of feel that same way, where like Mara, Shane, the rest of the organization would probably still roll with Russ, but Dable, knowing the position he's in, kind of impatient, maybe wanted to start Dart from the start. No rhyme intended there, but feels like now he's basically like, just basically giving a middle finger to everybody in the organization, saying, this is my quarterback, I'm going to play him, I don't care what anybody else thinks. So we'll see. It's never a dull moment with the Giants, never a dull moment with either of these teams. And here we are again. These 2 New York football teams are 0-6 combined. Like, and neither of them could get the quarterback right. It's a joke. So we'll see. Anyway, moving on now. Taking a look now at some teams, 1 and 2 teams, maybe even throw in a couple winless teams that could still salvage this season. We'll also take a look at some 3-0 and some 2-1 teams that kind of contenders and pretenders here, tying into this with this segment. So we'll start with the teams that could still make the playoffs, because there is a couple good, at least last couple years tells us, some good 1 and 2 teams that feel like they could still make a run at it. I guess we could start with you. What team sticks out to you? We can kind of just go through some of the teams here.
Number one, it has to be Baltimore. They've had some gut-wrenching losses, which makes you concerned. And we talked about it off air. This defense from Baltimore is not like we're used to seeing, but I know a lot of these games have come down to just, truthfully, Derrick Henry fumbling the ball is what a lot of these games have kind of come down to. Mental mistakes down the end, and it's just like you can't have those. But I think Baltimore has the best shot. I mean, there's no way we see a world where the Pittsburgh Steelers win the AFC North, right? Not with not with Baltimore, not with Cincy, but I think they kind of figured out, and I know they got a big one against the Chiefs this week. And truthfully, I think whoever drops that one, your playoff chances are done. But I think Baltimore has the best shot at bouncing back. Lamar and Derrick Henry get it figured out, and maybe we see another run. They started slow last year, like you mentioned off air too. So this is kind of what we're used to seeing from Baltimore. They kind of pick it up. I think we see the same thing this year.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, defense has been a complete joke. So bad. They're last in the NFL, and so bad you've got Ravens fans crying over Mike McDonald leaving and seeing the success that he's had in LA, or not LA, Seattle rather. The Ravens have gotten off to a slow start last year. They were 0-2. They had that bad loss against the Raiders at home. They were just like really slow start, 0-2 again. And even the year prior, going back to 2023, I wrote down really the last 2 years. 2023, they started out 3-2. Not like anything hot out of the gate where they were, 4-1 or 5-0. And even going back to 2022 season, they started out 3-3. There was some bad losses in there as well. So this is a Ravens team that really the last 3 years, them and Cincy in that AFC North, for whatever reason, kind of in quicksand to open up the season. I still think they're going to, and maybe it's just, I picked them to win the Super Bowl, which is looking terrible. Just in general, I don't really know why I picked a Ravens-Eagles Super Bowl, but I did. I'll throw this, though, out there. And I know they're one of the top teams, but like you said, the Derrick Henry fumbles, which has become a major issue. The biggest reason why they lost the two games they lost. But you also look at the teams they lost to, with Bills and Lions, arguably two top teams in their respective conferences as well. Ravens last year lost to the Ravens. They were able to overcome that. Maybe you could look at it and say, what they're struggling against the elite teams. I think they'll be fine. You look at their schedule here coming up. Yes, they have the Chiefs, but after that, they've got a really struggling Texans team. You have the Rams then, but then the Bears winnable, Dolphins winnable. The Vikings by no means are an impossible matchup. Browns, they already, beat them up. And you get the Jets and the Bengals 2 times still without Burrow. So there is a good chunk of wins here coming up for the Ravens if they can kind of get into a rhythm. They have 3 games in their bye week, come out of their bye week and start to stack some wins. So I'm right there with you. Do you have another team or do you want me to throw one out there?
Go ahead, Phil. You might have the same one I have. I have 2 more. You might have the same 2.
All right. I'm kind of split because this weekend's game will be big with the Ravens and Chiefs, but I'm going to throw another one out here. I still believe in the Broncos. I know there's a lot of people that have jumped off the ship with Denver and have called them overrated. Maybe this is also me just trying to stand by one of my picks to start the year, NFC West divisional title. I don't know if they'll do that now with the way the Chargers are playing, but I'm not going to sit here and say that they're just not going to miss the playoffs. I know there's been some concerns with Bo Nix. There's been some misfires. There's been some struggles with the offense. Defense has still been solid. Offense, though, has seen some struggles. I think Monday night is a big opportunity for them back at home to pick up a win. And same goes for the Ravens that we say, or same goes for the Broncos that we said for the Ravens. They do have Philly, but after that, they've got the Jets, they've got the Giants. Cowboys defense has struggled. They then Houston. Vegas has had some bumps here early. So they're going to have some more winnable games coming up. And who knew their first 2 games would be up against a rejuvenated Daniel Jones and a Chargers team. And you look at the way they've lost these games, by 3 to the Chargers, game-winning field goal. And then you have the field goal. You have the whole penalty situation, game-winning field goal against the Colts. So you look at they're 2 kicks away. They're 1 bad penalty taken away from being 2-1, potentially 3-0. So I'm still buying into the Broncos. I'm not in the vast majority actually who think that this team is just not good. I still believe in them.
Yeah, I'm right with you. I haven't hit the panic button or withdraw button on Denver, whatever the case is. I still think they have a lot. And the thing is, a lot of these one-possession games, I feel like they will find ways to win. And this is kind of the thing with every season. I believe was it Philly last year and Kansas City the year before, if I remember, where these very good teams find ways to sneak out these one possession wins, and it's just unfortunately the coin flip has not went their way. But I think eventually it starts to go their way. But no panic on Denver yet. I mean, we haven't seen this offense look good once this season. Colts game they did, but we haven't really seen like a Broncos offense that we both thought we would see in the second year of Bo Nix. And I think eventually they get there. No panic on the Broncos. Also had the Chiefs as another team that I have as a best shot. Considering those two are in the same division, if I had to pick one, I'm probably going to go with Denver. I still think, well, not anymore, but I still think they find a way to get into the playoffs. I thought it would win the division. I think the Chargers might lock that up. We're still early, but no need to panic on the Broncos just yet. They will definitely bounce back.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And in terms of Kansas City, I can kind of see it either way. In terms of the 1-2 and 0-3 teams, I think they're the next best to continue to roll here and make the playoffs. Like I do think have the better chance over the Raiders to turn things around here. But there is that part of you with Kansas City that's like maybe they weren't very good last year, but they were so good in one-score games. And here we are and I know they're going to get some pieces back in a Worthy, Rice, and they're going to start to get some weapons, but Kelsey clearly isn't the same. I mean, Mahomes has had his, the passing offense just in general has had some struggles. I mean, they kind of kept the Giants around in that game too. If the Giants weren't so bad, they might be 0-3. So I can kind of see it both sides with Kansas City. My gut does probably tell me, though, they'll probably find a way to get in the playoffs. Like they'll be like 9-8, get in and make a run and be in the Super Bowl again. Feels like for the last 3 years with Kansas City, every year it feels like, no, this isn't their year. This is the end, and they find a way to turn it around. Maybe that's it this year, but they're an interesting spot because it does feel like coming off the Super Bowl loss, there is a little bit of that. This dynasty, this core maybe needs a little bit of a refresh, but I guess we'll see.
I think I'm right with obviously. I think David Worthy is playing this week. I think I seen a report that he is playing this week. So the Chiefs' way of things going on, we're going to be at the bye. I don't know exactly when their bye is. They're going to trade for Tyreek Hill. Tyreek Hill is going to step in. They're going to get Rasheed Rice back, and this team is going to make a miraculous run. Still won't win the division, but they will find a way to get into the playoffs as maybe a 6-7 seed, upset some people, get to the AFC Championship, and lose. That is the script that I'm predicting.
To the Bills. And now in Buffalo.
Correct.
All right.
Josh Allen and Buffalo finally get it done.
Finally exercise their demons.
Yeah.
Week 10 bye. And I've already seen that too flowing around. Dolphins trading Tyreek Hill to that would be a very Chiefs thing to happen. There'll be a mess. They'll get some help out of the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And they'll trade Tyreek Hill and it'll be, gosh. Talk about the Dolphins already being a clown show. Trading Tyreek Hill to the Chiefs, that's probably the dumbest thing you could do. So, I mean, just remember the reaction when the Bills traded the pick to get Worthy to Kansas City. Jeez. The reaction towards Miami would – I mean, I guess I wouldn't hate it because I don't like Miami, but for the NFL fan inside of me, it's,
you don't want to
make it a lot.
Yeah,
it's tough. So now 1-0-3 team that you think could still make the playoffs. This one's probably obvious, maybe.
Well, who are the 0-3 teams?
Saints, Giants, Texans, Titans, Jets, Dolphins.
I just feel like I want none of the above to be an option.
Two of the teams I just listed, by the way, are playing a primetime game this week for whatever reason against each other.
You said Saints, Jets, Dolphins, Texans, Titans.
Mm-hmm. Giants.
And Giants. It's going to be crazy. I think it's the Jets. I think
Really?
it is. I think it's the Jets. Now, I know that week 2 against Buffalo didn't look good. Obviously, they didn't have Tyrod, as you would say it, correct?
Hmm.
They didn't have they.
As Baker would say it, yeah.
You don't have Fields, so you have Tyrod, and week 1 against Pittsburgh kind of goes the opposite way. But something we're seeing from this Jets team that you can attest to this that you haven't seen in a while is life. It's energy. It's dog. It's fight. Like they look decent enough to win games. I mean, Tampa, that game 23-3. You think it's over with? You think it's a done deal? Let's go ahead and pack the plane. Let's get ready to go back. But they continue to fight, and you kind of see that under Aaron going like this team wants to win. I think they have the best shot. You look at the rest of the division as well. Miami is awful. New England kind of hit or miss. I think the Jets have the best shot. I feel like there's something in that team. Aaron Glenn has brought something to that team that makes me think they can make a late season push.
I hope you're right, and maybe this is just a track record. I still think it's Houston. And I know they've been terrible, and it probably is time to sound the alarm. So we'll get to them here in a couple of minutes. I still think it's Houston, though. Maybe not. I don't know. It's definitely not. I think we could both agree not Tennessee or the Saints. As a matter of fact, this might sound crazy. I think the Saints have a better shot than the Titans.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think the Titans are actually worse than the Saints. As much as people clown New Orleans and the Saints, and we've done our fair share of that, I actually think Tennessee is worse. Now, I don't know if they play each other this year. Yes, they do. So that'll be the real battle. Week 17 too. That'll be when both teams are 0-17. That'll be the 0-16. That'll be the Tank Bowl.
Titans and Saints on Disney Plus at 10 a.m. on a Sunday.
God, that's move back earlier. Put that game on like 9 8, not even like 7 a.m.
Oh my goodness.
4 a.m. for the West Coast folks. State. Yeah, I think actually, if we had to rank the 0-3 teams, Tennessee is the worst, Saints are the second worst, Giants third worst. I would probably put the Jets and in the Dolphins and in the Texans.
I'm going to go Dolphins, Jets.
I've lost all hope in the Jets this year, but I hope you're right. I think they're going to lose this week, but
I'm going to spoil it. I have them as my underdog pick this week. I think it's the Dolphins. It's the Dolphins. If Justin Fields is playing, I'm more confident in the underdog for the Jets. Tyrod, he looked awful. But then again, Miami's defense is awful.
Yeah. No, it's a big game. I mean, the Jets can't go out there and embarrass themselves against Miami and get to 0-4. You get to 0-4, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
So I'm right there with you. Miami, I look at as a big one. Or they got to win this game. Get to 1-3. Even if they win this game, it doesn't mean the season's like alive. But at least, you're not 0-4. With Dallas coming to town, potential to be 0-5 on a short week. Just in general, losing to Miami on primetime with everything they've gone through would be a very Jets thing to do, but a disaster.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get into some contenders and pretenders. 2-1, maybe even 3-0 teams here that are legit, not legit, kind of the opposite in a way of our struggling teams who can still make the playoffs. Taking a look here at some teams that are still right in the mix or teams that are going to fall off. Did you want to begin?
Yeah, I'm going to go hot take here. Do you want to swap everyone? What was your plan?
Yeah, we could, or you could list a few, and then I could list a few. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna list like three. List three here. Hot take here: Philadelphia Eagles are pretenders. I don't believe in them this year. This could be the Dallas hate watch. I just don't like what I've seen out of them. I mean, I know they're finding ways to win games. You had the miraculous, 19-point comeback against the Rams this past week. I don't believe them. I don't think these slow starts and letting teams hang around will continue to win them games. I already don't have them going to the Super Bowl. I know you do, but I don't think Philly's legit this year, so I'm going to have them as a pretender. Another one here that they actually play each other this week, the Bucks, contenders. Something about this Bucks team. I don't know. I really love the Bucks. I love Baker Mayfield. And as bad as Todd Bowles look as a head coach, the Bucks and Baker Mayfield make him look like one of the best coaches in football. Baker is finding ways. I know they're not lighting up the scoreboard, kind of how we seen last year, but 3 straight game-winning drives, 3 straight games from Baker of just being fantastic down the stretch to will his team to a win. I like the Bucks here. I think they are serious contenders. Also, considering the others in that division are Mickey Mouse levels of competition, I think the Bucks win away with that division. I think they are a serious team as far as another contending team. And lastly, we're going to go with the pretending 2-1 Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't believe in them. I don't believe in them. They always find a way to fizzle out towards the end of the year. And I know Rodgers has looked decent. I just don't think the Steelers are really that good. I think they're pretending that right now they're 2-1. I won't be surprised if we're sitting here and they're 7-5 at some point of this season. Pittsburgh, you are pretenders.
I'm going to start off with the last one. I agree. Pittsburgh pretenders, 2-1. I don't even think they've played that well, to be honest, in any of the 3 games. You look at the Jets game, Jets shot themselves with the Gibson fumble. They were chasing points all game for the missed kick. We've rehashed it many times. Even that game, though, they couldn't stop the run. The last 2 weeks, teams have been able to stop the run against the Jets. They had that bad loss against Seattle. And last week in New England, yes, they got the win, but it really wasn't that pretty. And a win's a win. They had that terrible Rodgers interception. I think Rodgers has looked okay, but to be honest, like this Rodgers is never going to do anything. He's never going to take. He's shot in terms of taking a team to the title or the Super Bowl. What am I talking about? Title, taking a team to the Super Bowl. He's shot. He's done. Like this, Aaron Rodgers is very average. At best, you're getting to a wild card game again and losing. That's kind of what screams this Pittsburgh Steelers team. And this weekend, to me, I hate that matchup against Minnesota. Rodgers overseas against the Vikings gives me flashbacks of the 3-interception game last year. And it's the truth because Brian Flores blitzes the heck out of teams, and Rodgers is terrible against the blitz because he can't move. And I think you potentially could see a lot of that again on Sunday. So I agree they're a pretender. Contender, I'm going to go the Chargers. I do think the Chargers are legit. As much as I do think Denver can get back into the mix and still make it a race, what I've seen from this Chargers team offensively and defensively, Justin Herbert's playing at another level right now. He's been excellent, playing at an MVP caliber level right now. So I'm going to go Chargers contender. Pretender, I hate to do it, and I think they'll probably end up winning the division. But in the grand scheme of things, and it's only week 3, and maybe we could do this segment again a month from now. I still can't take the Colts seriously. And maybe it's and I don't want to be that guy that just is like, oh, it's Daniel Jones. He's going to fall off at some point because 3 weeks in, I do really think we might be in the middle of a renaissance like we saw with Baker, like we saw with Darnold. And I actually defended Darnold a lot last year when everybody, because I remember going into that Jets-Vikings game, all these Jets fans were like, oh, it's Darnold. He'll stink it up. Like, no, he's actually playing good. Like, I don't think he's just going to fall off a cliff. I do think they found something with Daniel Jones, but I still, like, just playoffs, this AFC, you can't tell me that, like, Daniel Jones against a Justin Herbert or a Josh Allen going into the postseason really gives you much confidence. So I still can't think, and I know Jonathan Taylor's playing at an extremely high level right now. He's another one. Talk about offensive player of the year. Talk about MVP. He's right in that conversation. He's first in rushing yards. He's been great too, from a receiving perspective. He's been excellent. But for right now, I'm still going to temper the expectations on Indy. And maybe I'm proven wrong. Maybe this is kind of this year's version of the Vikings, which actually I'd probably end up proving right because if they stink the bed in the playoffs. But yeah, Indy, I still think is a pretender. And that's pretty much it. I think Bucks are a contender, and the most intriguing 3-0 team to me in terms of contender pretender is the 49ers. I really don't know.
Yeah.
Pretender. Yeah, I think pretender.
Yeah, I don't believe in them. I don't know. This Niners team is weird.
Yeah, they got the win against Seattle in Darnold's first game. Didn't play well. Since that point, Seattle's won 3 in a row. They beat New Orleans. They beat Arizona. All their games, though, have been close. They've dealt with injuries. They're 3-0. They're very, I don't know. Partially why I don't know is I don't know if I could trust them injury-wise. I mean, every week it's something new. You know?
I have one for you at 2-1. That I think is a contender and might catch you off guard here. I think the Jags might have put some things together. I know me specifically, has done a lot of bashing of Trevor Lawrence, but this team is sitting at 2-1. Defenses look very good up until this point, and you're doing all this when Brian Thomas clearly leaves his hands at home prior to every game. He has done absolutely nothing whatsoever. Travis Hunter has been still early. We've been so overhyped. Hasn't really done anything that people thought he would do at Colorado. I didn't think he would either at the NFL. Like, you're not about to go, 180 on offense and then 2 picks on defense. Let's be serious. But Travis Hunter has not really given them much offensively. They lead the league in drops by like a mile, and they're somehow still sitting at 2-1. You look at the division, Tennessee, awful. Houston, awful. And they have the advantage on Houston out with the win. So it's them and the Colts kind of, back and forth who can win the division. I honestly think once Brian Thomas and Travis Hunter kind of get more involved offensively, they can be really good if Trevor continues to play how he's playing as well.
Yeah. I don't know. I still feel like there is part of me that I still don't know if I could trust the Chargers. Part of it is, and the whole Brian Thomas Jr. thing, I'm sure you've seen that stat, but like Shane Waldron walks into the building and any wide receiver one just forgets how to play football.
Yeah.
They played well, and I guess this is maybe contradicting my whole Colts point, because if the Colts are pretenders, then who the heck's going to win that division? Because the Texans look like hot garbage right now. Yeah, and they've already beaten Houston. Yeah, I mean they played well. Liam Cohen, they played well, and they played well without some of their top guys, playing well. I'll throw another one out there, and I just want to say this: like, I think, and this isn't really a hot take, contender and was a contender all along. That's the Detroit Lions. Like, I know the defense and offensive coordinator stuff. To go on the road and beat Baltimore, to dominate the Bears. Yeah, they lost week 1, but I think Detroit is about to go on one of these runs again where we might look up in like a month, 2 months, and they're going to be back to like 9-2. I really think so. Yeah. I don't think Detroit's missed a beat. This was the first time in the Dan Campbell era that we really went into the season with legitimate questions around this team and some concern around. I think we both had them going to the playoffs. They weren't going to fall off that bad, but maybe they don't win the division. Maybe they, are only get in as a 7 seed or a 6 seed or one of the wild card, a 5 seed. And maybe a 10-win team as opposed to, a 12 or 15-win team. But I think they're right. I think they're going to be a 12-win team. I think they're going to win the division again, personally. Maybe I'm overreacting to 2 games, but they've found their rhythm. I mean, I do. I think they're better than – I know Green Bay's already beat them, but I still think they are. That just the weapons of Amon-Ra St. Brown, the two running backs, they get in a groove here and they get moving. I believe heavily in the Lions.
I think I'm with you. I mean, week one, we said this, I believe, the episode after week one, where it's so hard to judge off that first week because it's rush. Like, everyone seems to still be knocking off rush, especially for the teams who don't play their starters in the preseason.
Yeah.
We didn't know what to expect without the two coordinators there, but it finally, like, they're clicking, they're figuring it out. Green Bay is very beatable. Like, people thought Green Bay with the Michael Parsons trade was just Thanos with the 6 infinity rings. Like, no, they are very beatable. And Cleveland showed you that. And that's a team with probably the worst offense in football. You can argue the worst offense in football. This is a very beatable team who offensively, I'm still talking about Green Bay here, who offensively has not looked good, has not clicked whatsoever. And we are still waiting on them to finally gel it together. But if Green Bay continues to look how they look offensively all season, yeah, they still win, 10 games because their defense is just that good. But it's to that point where I don't think in a shootout, Green Bay will be able to keep up with a team like the Lions who score so much, so quickly, so dominant, throw so many different things at you. So if Green Bay cannot get that offense flowing, it's not crazy to think the Lions win the division once again.
Yeah, just on the Browns point, defense one of the best in the league. Myles Garrett is disgusting again, and offense stinks. But are we surprised? I mean, when you have the pickings of Joe Flacco and Shador and Dylan Gabriel and Kenny Pickett there for a little while, it's just not to get off topic with the Cleveland stuff, but they're just wasting one of the elite pass rushers this game has seen year in and year out. They're just wasting him. That's why I'm surprised that he would legitimately resigned, not went somewhere else. Talk about Green Bay trading for a pass rusher. That could have been the move. But he came back. Anyway, let's move on here to Houston quickly, and then we can kind of tie into just our underdog picks. 0-3, the first time in this D'Amico Ryan, CJ Stroud era where there is legitimate question and concern around this Texans team, especially when you look at their upcoming schedule, where face Tennessee, very winnable. This is like you got to, if you lose to Tennessee, you've got major issues. Baltimore bye week, then you come out of the bye week, you've got Seattle, San Fran, Denver, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Buffalo, you got Kansas City still. So they still got some really tough matchups. Where do you stand on Houston? Time to panic. Where's the panic meter? It's ugly. CJ Stroud looks really bad. The offensive line continues to be a disaster. Where do you stand with this Texans offense, this team? They have not scored 20 points in a game yet.
And I think it's time to sound the alarms, complete panic mode. I mean, 2 years ago, this is a team that we thought can win 13, maybe even 14 games. Obviously, the division, and we said it this offseason, where it's not even about Houston winning the division. It's their division to lose. And they are in a very deep hole right here, and just at this moment. But I think it's time to start freaking out. I mean, the offensive line can't figure it out. The run game is not great whatsoever. Nico Collins looks awful. Like, he's off to a slow start. Stroud, overrated. I've been saying it after the first year, and I'm going to go on my slight rant here again. Let's stop judging quarterbacks off of one good year. And we're finally starting to see the real CJ Stroud. And I just think Houston, I mean, it's kind of getting to this point where you don't want it to happen, but it's just like, do you start to question D'Amico Ryans and his ability to lead this team? Because they completely have fallen off a cliff, and I don't see a bounce back for Houston. Colts are playing good. Jags are playing good. They can't score. I think it's time for Houston to probably start considering benching CJ Stroud. Especially if they lose this week, it might be time to go see your backup.
If they lose this week, there's major issues. But yeah, I mean, CJ Stroud, it's been a disaster this season. He's looked completely lost. He's looked like a rookie that is kind of just sinking. Um, there is some there's been some behind the scenes rumors too with Stroud and the Texans. I don't know if you saw those reports about like I don't know, some just some stuff I guess going on behind the scenes with him and the Texans and it's whatever, like kind of I guess maybe a little bit of a rift. I haven't fully read into it, but it's getting ugly quick in Houston. Um, if this continues all year and they're like a 4-win team, do you think about making a change in the like you feel like NFL life comes at you fast in the NFL? If Stroud continues to play like this, you have to kind of have the question about like moving on if it's continues to be this bad, you know? And I don't think it's all him. Like the offensive line's been a disaster.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't got much from the run game, which, by the way, I actually traded for Nick Chubb in fantasy. I needed to. But yeah, it's definitely a sense of panic time in Houston.
Yeah.
And by the way, like they've had he's thrown 2 receiving touchdowns. Nobody's done anything receiving wise. You look at Nico Collins is 181 yards so far. He had the one good game. That's it. Outside of that, Dalton Schultz has done nothing. You've got nothing out of the rookies. Christian Kirk's been a non-factor. I know he only played the one game. But in that one game at 25 yards, like they've been, for all these young pieces, these weapons, he hasn't gotten the ball to them. It's been terrible. And he's also been sack tied the 7th most in the NFL, which part of it he holds on to the football for ages. But it's bad. It's ugly.
You know, Joe Mixon will be back here, I think, after this week. He probably should be back. So for Houston fans, you're like, okay, you get Mixon back. Hopefully that adds to the run game. But still, I mean, it's not old-fashioned Army football. Like you're not rushing the ball 35 times for 400 yards in the game. You have to be able to throw the ball. And like you said, the rookies have done nothing. But it is kind of funny. Last offseason, you got Nico Collins. You got Stephon Diggs. You're like, oh, my goodness, the team is going to be so good. All the weapons that the Texans have. A year later, we're just like, where are the Texans' weapons? Why are the weapons so bad?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like a fool because I thought the Texans would go out there last year and win like 14 games. I thought they're going to be the number 1 seed. I was very bullish on them. They get to the playoffs, but it wasn't the same type of season for the offense. Stroud didn't have the same type of year. They did win a playoff game, but now here we are 0-3. It's they're in a really bad spot. Quickly, my predicament in fantasy. So I had James Conner, and he obviously goes down for the season. Now the issue is my only backup to James Conner was Tyrone Tracy. He's hurt. I had Quinshawn Judkins, but I got rid of him before the season because he was literally listed as a free agent. I'm like, is he even going to play? What's going to happen? So I did not have a playable running back on my roster. So I picked up Woody Marks, the number 2 for Houston. 12-man league, waiver wires depleted. It was either him or Devin Singletary. They're terrible options. Picked up Woody Marks, and I had to look for trades. So I traded Shakir for Chubb straight up.
I get it. I don't blame you. I think it was a panic move. It was a Brian Dable, job on the line type of move.
Yeah. I didn't want Chubb. I wanted ETM. The person I was trading with has ETM, David Montgomery, and Nick Chubb on his bench.
Oh.
And I'm working with Woody. I'm working with Woody Marks, who's not any good. I didn't even know who the guy was, I'll be honest. And Tyrone Tracy, who's hurt, and Connor, my IR. He can't help me out. But I was willing to move T. Higgins, too. Like, I was, anyway.
Yeah, you're in the same boat that I am in. Had James Conner, I had Tyrone Tracy. Dropped Connor, dropped Tracy. I somehow pulled off a deal to where I landed Jordan Mason and Chase Brown. So I'm now 4 backs. I'm about to try to move them, but I now have Chase Brown, Jordan Mason, Kyron Williams, and Josh Jacobs as my running backs. I have a lot of depth and a lot of pieces.
Yeah. The thought did creep into my head about going and trading, and this might sound crazy, but hear me out. And I have Jonathan Taylor. Like, if I package Jonathan Taylor in a deal for like David Montgomery, Travis Etienne, and like Keenan Allen,
That's not
to get
crazy. I love that.
two
I
running
like
backs,
that.
I thought about that.
That's actually a great trade. You might have thrown another piece outside of Taylor,
Yeah,
but that's
yeah, I would.
Allen's been good, consistent. Montgomery, RB, 1B, still want to see,
Yeah,
10, 11, 12 touches a game. And then
He-
Travis Etienne look rejuvenated. So I
yeah.
don't think that's a bad move.
For fantasy terms, Montgomery's probably the best number 2 running back you'll get on your roster. With him and Gibbs and the way that they, complement each other. I thought about doing that, but I was like, you know what? I'm not. If I can get Chubb for now, the problem is they're on a bye week in 2 weeks. So I got Chubb for this week and next week. Once Mixon comes back, Chubb's value drops. So what I'm thinking about doing is I might flip Chubb. Some of the people I was trading with didn't want because they weren't getting a running back because I didn't have a running back to trade in return. So I might flip Chubb. Have Chubb for this week and then flip him. I might be able to get if Scatterboo plays well, maybe. I don't know. I'm in a desperation right now with running back. I'm like flex sealing it together. Not even that. It's bad. Anyway, underdog picks. 4 and 5. So we're back to even. 1 and 2 week for me, 0 and 3 week for you last week. So after a 3-0 week, followed it up with a winless week. Don't worry, one of those is coming for me. You want to begin as you look to redeem yourself?
Yes. So I'm going to start off with the team that should have at least been one on the board for me. That's the Rams. But this week I have them. I have the Colts covering. What I tried to say there was the Rams ruined this week for me. Colts, I hope you ruined there. I like Colts plus 3.5. Daniel Jones might be back. Like New York, that was Daniel Jones. This has been Vanilla Vic. What we've seen from him the last few weeks. I like Vanilla Vic and the Colts to keep this game close. I know the Rams defense is good, but I don't know. This Colts team has looked very good. I think they keep it close. Give me Colts plus 3.5. Secondly, we are going to go with your New York football Jets. The Dolphins are terrible. I picked against them 2 weeks ago. Was it 2 weeks ago? With New England, I had New England winning straight up, and obviously that worked out. And I'm doing it again. I think the Jets beat the Dolphins this week, especially if Justin Fields and not Tyrod Taylor is out there throwing the football. I like the Jets. I think they kind of build off of last week. They continue to fight in that game. Had the block field goal to take the lead. Baker just pulled Baker magic. But I think the Jets have found something with this team. Give me Jets plus 2.5 over the Fins. And lastly, I'm on hate watch. I had Rams last week, I believe, plus 3 to plus 3.5 against Philly. And the Devil Magic in Philadelphia took over. Not this week. Give me Bucks plus 3.5. This is a team that has given Philly issues the last few years. I think they do it again. Baker is questionable. I think he's going to play, but Tristan Wirfs should also most likely be playing this week for Tampa. And Philly's defense, that secondary is burnt toast. Give me Bucks plus 3.5.
Alrighty, I like that. Like the Jets. Hopefully that's correct. I hope so. I can't fold 0 and 4 on prime time. Just can't. I'm gonna roll here. I'm gonna start interesting one, but I'm gonna start with the Bears plus 1.5 on the road against the Raiders. There's certainly an aspect of me that does not have any faith in betting on Caleb Williams, or not betting, but picking Caleb Williams here to go on the road and beat the Raiders. But the Raiders haven't played very well. Bears found something last week against the Cowboys. Caleb Williams had a really good game. They had the 3 interceptions actually. Defensively, they played well. Caleb Williams had a good game. I think the Bears carry that momentum here and pick up another win against a Raiders team that really hasn't gotten off the mat yet. There's been some bumps there early on for the Pete Carroll-led Raiders. So I'll go Bears plus 1.5. Talked about it a little bit earlier. Still a little iffy on this team, but I'm going to go Jaguars plus 3.5 on the road in San Fran. I don't know. Something about and I know it looks like Brock Purdy will be back out there. But Nick Bosa, done for the year. Massive blow. Still dealing with some other injuries. I don't know. I think the Jaguars go out, pick up a win here, +3.5 on the road, and kind of a statement win, I guess you could say, early on in the season on the road in San Fran. So I'll go Jags there. This next one, I've kind of been all over the place. I've had a couple different. Part of me does want to pick Tampa against Philly because they've had success. There's also part of me, and this is dumb, and I'm not going to do it. 14.5 Buffalo over New Orleans. Can New Orleans at least just cover that? Buffalo does like to play with their food a lot in some of these games. We saw it last week against Miami. That should not have been a game. It was. We've seen Buffalo a lot of times. They tend to play down to their opponent, and they kind of like sleepwalk through these games, and they ended up pulling it out, but a lot of times it's ugly. But I'm going to go Foxborough, Carolina, coming off a really dominant performance against Atlanta. Give me the Panthers +5.5. I don't know if they'll win, but that to me is a pretty big spread for this game. 2 1-2 teams. New England by no means is some juggernaut. This game to me should be closer to like 2.5. So 5.5, I think that's pretty good. I don't know if Carolina will win, but I think this could definitely be a field goal game. So I'll go Panthers to cover the +5.5 and potentially pick up their second win, if not at least keep it close up in Foxborough. Coming off the win against Atlanta, Patriots coming off, of course, the loss against Pittsburgh. So that's Underdog Picks week number 4. Any closing thoughts?
Thank you, as usual, for watching. For all football fans out there, I would watch Sunday night with parental advisory. We're going to witness in Dallas. Other than that, enjoy your football weekend, and we will catch you guys next week.
Yes, there was. Did the thought creep in your mind, Dallas +6.5?
Never in the world. Actually, I am hammering this. I would put 3 months worth of rent on Packers spread, over Jordan Love passing yards, over on Green Bay team points. And I know I said earlier, briefly here, that we have not seen their offense look good at all this year. Neither did we see that with Chicago last week. That was the best offense I've ever seen play football. I think that's the case for Green Bay this week. So hammer everything Green Bay this week, including a Malik Willis touchdown, because he will be playing by the third quarter of that game.
Yeah. What about Joe Milton touchdown? Joe Milton interception?
Over on the interception. Correct.
It's funny. Remember I had that stretch last year of like picking Dallas?
Yeah.
I was almost had to bring that back. There was that. I actually got a couple of them correct. I think I got the Steelers game right.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly got a fair share wrong. I kept riding with them. And I was like Dable. I was just going down with the sinking ship.
Well, you learn from your mistakes. I'm glad you did. I thought that's what you were going to say when you said, I might be crazy here. I thought you were about to go Dallas. I'll say, well, chalk that one up as an L because this is just not happening.
Yeah, it's going to happen this year. There's going to be I did it with the Browns, which was a disaster, but there's going to be another big spread that I'll take. Like the Saints can maybe cover. I don't know. I'm not doing that though. Too early. I need to still recover from I picked the Browns, 11.5, and they lost 41-17. So I'm still recovering from that. Anyway, that'll do it. Appreciate you all as always. We'll be back next week recapping or discussing some takeaways, of course, from week 4 and diving into week 3. This is it. Final episode in September. Next week, it's October. It's the second month of the NFL season. So things are really picking up. It always flies by. So appreciate you all as always. And we'll talk to you soon.